It is a small red dot in the night sky. For thousands of years, humans have stared at it and wondered. Mars, the red planet. It is the world that looks the most like home, and yet it is colder, drier, and emptier than any desert on Earth. Could it once have been alive? And could it, one day, become our second home? Today, we'll travel across the entire world of Mars. Its giant volcanoes, its lost oceans, the day its atmosphere blew away, and the very real plans to send humans there within our lifetime. By the end of this video, that little red dot will feel like a place you know. So sit back and enjoy the journey. First, the basics. Mars is our neighbor, but space is enormous. When Earth and Mars line up, they sit about 55 million kilometers apart. When they're on opposite sides of the Sun, that gap grows past 400 million. With today's rockets, a one-way trip takes around 7 to 9 months. So if you forget your toothbrush, turning back is not an option. Mars is small. Its diameter is about 6,800 kilometers, just over half the width of Earth. If Earth were a basketball, Mars would be about the size of a softball. And because it's small, it has only about a tenth of Earth's mass. That smallness, as we'll see later, is the key to almost every mystery on this planet. So why is Mars red? The answer is rust. The soil of Mars is packed with iron, and over billions of years that iron reacted with oxygen and turned the whole surface the color of dried blood. In other words, Mars is a planet that has quite literally gone rusty. An entire world left out in the rain. Except there hasn't been rain for a very long time. Here's something friendly. A day on Mars is almost exactly like ours, about 24 hours and 37 minutes. A Martian year, though, is nearly twice as long, 687 days, because Mars orbits much farther from the Sun. So on Mars you'd get an extra 37 minutes every single day. Whether you'd use them wisely is, of course, another question entirely. Gravity on Mars is weak, only about 38% of Earth's. A person who weighs 60 kilograms here would feel like just 23 kilograms there. You could leap nearly 3 times higher and lift things that would pin you down on Earth. Every astronaut on Mars would, briefly, get to feel like a superhero. But don't pack your swimsuit. Mars is brutally cold. The average temperature is about minus 60 degrees Celsius. On a warm summer afternoon near the equator, it might just reach a pleasant 20 degrees, but by night it can plunge below minus 80. Mars doesn't really do mild. It does either chilly or please let me back in the spaceship. And the air is no help. The Martian atmosphere is more than 95% carbon dioxide, and it is desperately thin, less than 1% the pressure of Earth's. You could not breathe it for a moment, and without a pressure suit, your blood itself would begin to boil. Mars may look like a desert, but it is far more hostile than any place on Earth. Quiz 1. How big is Mars compared to Earth? 1. About the same size as Earth. 2. About half the width of Earth. Or 3. About 10 times bigger than Earth. The answer is 2. Mars is about half the width of Earth. Just a small world. Now for the scenery, and Mars does not do anything by halves. Meet Olympus Mons, the largest volcano in the entire solar system. It stands about 22 kilometers tall, nearly 3 times the height of Mount Everest, and its base is the size of the entire country of France. If you stood at its foot, the summit would be so far away it would curve below the horizon. You wouldn't even see the top of the mountain you were climbing. And if mountains aren't your thing, try the canyons. Valles Marineris is a system of canyons stretching over 4,000 kilometers, as wide as the United States. In places it plunges 7 kilometers deep. Our own Grand Canyon, side by side, would look like a small scratch. Mars is a small planet wearing some of the biggest landmarks in the solar system. At its poles, Mars wears 2 bright white caps. These are made of frozen water and frozen carbon dioxide. That's right, dry ice. In the Martian winter, the caps grow as the very air freezes onto the ground, and in summer they shrink again. There is real water ice locked up at the poles of Mars, and that single fact will matter enormously for anyone who ever tries to live there. Mars also has weather, and it can be terrifying. Every few years, a dust storm erupts and grows until it wraps around the entire planet, blotting out the sun for weeks. One such storm in 2018 ended the mission of the Opportunity rover, which had bravely worked for 15 years. On Mars, the weather forecast occasionally reads, "The entire planet, dusty." Quiz 2. Olympus Mons is the largest volcano in the solar system. How tall is it compared to Mount Everest? 1. About the same height. 2. About 3 times taller. Or 3. About 10 times taller. The answer is 2. Olympus Mons is nearly 3 times the height of Everest, with a base the size of France. Here is where the real mystery begins. Look closely at Mars, and you find dried-up riverbeds, branching valleys, and the fan-shaped deltas where rivers once spilled into open water. These shapes are unmistakable. Liquid water once flowed across the surface of Mars. The dead, frozen desert we see today was once a world with rivers and lakes. And it may have gone much further than rivers. Many scientists believe that more than 3 billion years ago, a vast ocean may have covered much of the northern half of Mars, hundreds of meters deep. Picture it: blue skies, waves, a warm shoreline under a smaller, paler Sunday. If that picture is real, then Mars was once the second blue planet in our solar system. So where did all that water go? Some of it escaped into space, but a great deal of it, scientists think, is still here, frozen underground as vast sheets of ice, and possibly as salty liquid water in pockets deep below the surface. The oceans of Mars didn't simply vanish. Much of that water may still be waiting, locked beneath the red dust. But this raises the biggest question of all. If Mars once had rivers, oceans, and a thick atmosphere, what killed it? The answer begins deep in the core. Earth has a hot, churning iron core that wraps our planet in a powerful magnetic field, an invisible shield. Mars is small, so its core cooled faster, and billions of years ago, its magnetic shield switched off. And once that shield was gone, Mars was defenseless. The solar wind, a constant stream of particles from the sun, struck the atmosphere directly and stripped it away into space, molecule by molecule. NASA's MAVEN spacecraft watches this still happening today. As the air thinned, the pressure dropped, the water boiled away or froze, and the warm, wet world slowly suffocated. And that is the tragedy of Mars. It is, essentially, a warning. A planet that may once have looked a great deal like Earth, that lost its protective core, lost its air, lost its water, and became the frozen desert we see today. Mars shows us, in red, just how fragile a living world can be. Mars has 2 little moons, and they are strange ones. The larger, Phobos, is a lumpy potato of rock just 22 kilometers across, and it orbits so close and so fast that it crosses the Martian sky twice a day. Worse, it is slowly spiraling inward. In a few tens of millions of years, Mars will tear Phobos apart and may briefly wear a ring of rubble. The second moon, Deimos, is even smaller, barely 12 kilometers wide. From the surface of Mars, it would look like nothing more than a bright star drifting slowly across the night. Both moons are probably captured asteroids, drifters that wandered too close to Mars long ago and never got away. Mars, it seems, collects strays. Humans have been reaching for Mars for over 60 years. The early attempts were brutal. More than half of all missions ever sent to Mars have failed. The planet earned a grim nickname, the great galactic ghoul, said to devour spacecraft. But in 1976, NASA's Viking landers finally touched down safely and sent home the first photos from the Martian surface. Then came the rovers, robot geologists driving across another world. Spirit and Opportunity, built for 90 days, lasted for years. Curiosity, the size of a small car, is still climbing a Martian mountain today, drilling into rock and reading the planet's ancient diary one layer at a time. Every one of these machines is a small piece of humanity, exploring in our place. The newest explorer is Perseverance, which landed in 2021 in a crater that was once a lake. Its mission is breathtaking: to search for signs of ancient life and to carefully seal away samples of Martian rock in sealed tubes. The plan is for a future mission to fly those tubes home, so that, for the first time, we can hold a piece of Mars in a laboratory on Earth. Perseverance also carried a tiny passenger, Ingenuity, a helicopter the size of a tissue box. In 2021, it lifted off and became the first machine in history to fly under its own power on another planet. In air 100 times thinner than ours, something flew. The Wright brothers' first flight lasted 12 seconds. We just did it again on Mars. Quiz 3. What is slowly happening to Mars's moon Phobos? 1. It is drifting away and will escape into space. 2. It is spiraling inward and will one day be torn apart. Or 3. Nothing. It stays the same forever. The answer is 2. Phobos is slowly spiraling toward Mars, and in tens of millions of years it will be ripped apart, perhaps giving Mars a ring. Now, the question everyone really wants answered: is there life on Mars? Here we have to be careful, because we honestly do not know. But there are tantalizing clues. Rovers have detected faint puffs of methane that rise and fall with the seasons. On Earth, much of the methane in the air is produced by living things. On Mars, the source is still a genuine mystery. To be clear, no one has ever found life on Mars. Not a fossil, not a microbe, nothing. But scientists point out that more than 3 billion years ago, Mars had everything life needs: liquid water, warmth, and the right chemistry. So the question is no longer crazy. It's a real scientific search. The honest answer today is, we don't know yet, and that is exactly why we keep looking. And if life does survive on Mars today, it is probably not on the freezing, radiation-blasted surface. It would be hiding deep underground, in pockets of warm, salty water, the same way microbes thrive kilometers beneath the Earth. Personally, I'd love to believe something is still down there. But belief isn't proof, so for now, the search goes on. So why do we dream of going there ourselves? Partly to answer that question about life. Partly because Mars is the only other world in reach where humans could, perhaps, one day live. And partly for a colder reason. A species living on just one planet is one disaster away from extinction. Mars could be humanity's backup. And this is no longer just a dream. Companies like SpaceX are building enormous rockets, like Starship, designed specifically to carry people to Mars. NASA is planning crewed missions in the years ahead. For the first time in history, sending humans to Mars has moved from science fiction onto real engineering schedules. The people who first walk on Mars may already be alive today. But Mars will not welcome us. The journey takes months in cramped capsules. There is deadly radiation with no magnetic shield to stop it. The dust is fine and toxic, and there is nothing to breathe. Every drop of water, every breath of air, every calorie of food must be brought along or made on site. Mars is the hardest thing our species has ever tried to do. So the first explorers will live underground or under thick shielding, hiding from the radiation. They'll melt buried ice for water, and split that water to make oxygen to breathe and fuel to come home. They'll grow food in sealed greenhouses. The first home on Mars won't be a gleaming city. It will be cramped, buried, and absolutely extraordinary. And some dream even bigger. Could we one day terraform Mars, warming the whole planet, thickening its air, until people could walk outside without a suit? It is said this would take centuries at the very least, and many scientists think Mars simply doesn't have enough gas left to do it. For now, it remains a beautiful, distant dream, but I rather like that we even dare to imagine it. So here is a question to leave you with, and there's no right answer. Should we pour our effort into reaching Mars, or should we look after our own blue planet first? Some say Mars is our destiny. Others say it's a distraction from saving the Earth. It's a question worth sitting with, because the answer may shape the next few centuries of our species. Mars is a small, cold, rusty world, and yet it had rivers and maybe an ocean. It holds the largest volcano in the solar system, and it just might still be hiding life beneath its surface. It is the world that most looks like home, and the one we are most likely to reach. The red dot in the night sky is no longer just a dot. It's a destination. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.